Hey, Pepin.
Yo, yo.
I've been thinking a lot lately about getting high.
Getting high?
Yeah.
Drugs?
No, like climbing a mountain.
Oh, I love hiking.
Yeah, I like hiking and going long distances when hiking.
Yeah, some people do crazy things. Like they hike for days and days with just the food on their back. And it's like, how do they do that?
I have an idea. I think we should talk to somebody who's done something like that.
We know someone that's done that?
We do.
Who?
Oh, we need to talk.
Is he right there?
He's right there.
Oh, hi, Nick.
Oh, hey, how's it going?
Welcome back. So glad you guys could join us. I am here once again with my best friend, Nathan. Pepin, how's it going, Pepin?
Yo, yo. How you doing, Meter?
I'm pretty good. Thanks so much. You didn't answer my question, though. How are you?
Doing good, Meter.
Glad to hear it. And I am here with another one of my best friends, Nick James. How's it going, Nick?
Hey, thanks for having me on the podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on. Nick has an amazing story of something that I don't think I would be able to do. And that's hiking a part of the Appalachian Trail, a big section of it. And I want to hear that story, and I'm sure you do too.
Yeah. And my first question, to be honest, is I kind of have a vague idea what the Appalachian Trail is, but not exactly. Can you explain what the hike is and what it involves?
So the Appalachian Trail is it's a hike from Georgia, I believe, all the way up to Mount Katahdin in Maine. And a lot of people start in Georgia and finish in Maine because Maine summers are pretty limited with days you can hike in summer and actually be nice.
It's my favorite afternoon.
And so for people who are listening in China, we have a couple. About how many miles is that? Is that
It's like thousands.
thousands?
I
Yeah.
think.
Oh my God, that's fucking intense.
It is very intense.
People really do that?
People really do that. People quit their jobs out there. Some people I've talked to out there just quit their job and started hiking.
Oh my God. And so you hiked the trail. Did you go the full way or was it like this part way?
Just part way. I just did the 100-mile wilderness, which is commonly known as the most difficult part of the trail because it's one entrance, one exit. But things kind of changed. My perception kind of changed once I got out there and talked to some people about the 100-mile.
Just a little bit about Appalachian Trail. It's a marked hiking trail in the eastern United States, extending between Springer Mountain in Georgia and Mount Katahdin in Maine, exactly like you said. And it runs for 2,175 miles and passes through 12 states. And as far as hiking or nature goes in the United States, it is the standard. It's the benchmark of people who are serious about hiking and outdoorsy stuff. Mm-hmm. That's the thing to do. But you said you did the 100 miles in Maine, which isn't that one of the hardest sections because it's Maine?
Yeah,
wilderness?
well, like I said, there was like one entry, one exit to this section, so it's pretty wild. And honestly, I did it by myself too, which is a whole nother
You mean like
hurdle.
trailed entrances and exits? Like obviously you could cut
Right.
through the woods to get out or whatever, but it's like you could get lost like instantly.
You don't have cell phone service, so cutting through the woods probably is not the best idea, Meter.
Yeah, unless you're really good with a map
And a compass.
and a compass.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what made you want to do this trip?
I just have been searching for things to push myself in new limits, and I'm always pretty physical. Like I work out every day, and I like to play basketball. Like Wednesday nights, play men's league, and I like to really get out there in the wilderness. I go hunting a lot too, I like being out there, and doing it by myself was pretty peaceful. Honestly, I just took a week and a half vacation time from work and went out there and planned pretty well as I thought anyways. I covered all my bases, and we can get into that.
Talk to me about planning. What was that all about? Because
wow.
I remember
So-
talking to you while you were planning, and you were going over with me all the things you did, and it was amazing to me how much you were thinking ahead and how much you were planning.
So this isn't my first big hike. This is my first big hike with a lot of overnights, continuous. But I've done overnights in New Hampshire. I'm doing the 48 4,000 footers, which is pretty awesome.
What's that real quick?
There's 48 mountains in New Hampshire that are 4,000 feet in elevation. So it's pretty wild to get to the top of those. Usually probably 6 to 8 hours.
Is that like a lot of the White Mountains?
Yes, it's right up in the White Mountains, basically right off right up in North Conway.
Yep.
Kangamingus Highway.
Oh
if
yeah,
anyone's
it's a
been
good
up
one,
through
and
that
that's
way.
up where Man in the Mountain used to be.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So Appalachian though. So this wasn't your first solo hike, but this was your first extended multiple night
Continuous.
continuous.
Right.
Like you were planning for how many days?
I was planning for 10 days.
10 days. So
If you
and it's
break
just
that
whatever
up-
you brought in is what you had.
Right. So 10 days, I was planning to have 10 days worth of food and supplies because if you chop that up, if you get hurt or something, walking 10 miles a day is pretty far. I mean, it's pretty vigorous, especially if you're hiking mountains too and going over rivers and having to constantly take your shoes off and find out where exactly you're going because you don't have cell phone service out there, which is pretty wild.
How did you know what to plan for, like as far as rivers and stuff goes? Did you look at where you were going to be traveling and all of that? Did you talk to people?
So basically, my biggest part of my planning was where am I staying, right? What kind of food I'm bringing, kind of protection am I bringing from the elements and, you know, maybe it's crazy bear, zombie bear out there, and other people, honestly, because you can't really call for help out there. And
Although I imagine if you're going to jump somebody, the Appalachian Trail is probably not the best place to do it.
yeah,
It's a great place to murder someone, though. I mean,
I guess that's fair.
I don't think anybody would be really willing to do that, but you know, it seems like a lot of hiding out just to kill someone. But
Especially a random person.
Yeah.
exactly, like a hiker. Most
So
hikers
did
are
you
good
do-
people, I think.
Did you do that? Oh, I don't like generalizations like that. Did you do like a lot of internet research or anything like that?
So going out, I just went on the internet basically, and I didn't have anything for a continuous overnight. I'd just been doing day hikes, so I had like the basic water pouch that you bring with you. Camelback.
Go over all the gear you brought.
So for my day hikes for the 4,000 footers, I just have like a Camelback and whatever I bought for lunch that day, usually a sandwich and maybe some granola bars, maybe some bandages.
So that's like a day thing.
Yeah, it's like basically like a day thing, and then maybe like I brought a lighter or I don't know. Really light though, and so I had to.
It's like everything in one backpack and.
I wouldn't say everything. You can't take that little backpack, a day pack, to a 10-day trip.
No. So I'm sorry. I'm saying for the 10-day trip, you bring just like a backpack.
Yeah,
with a bunch of stuff in it.
It's a giant backpack. So I bought an Osprey. I think it's like a 60-liter backpack. So it's a giant backpack. It's not like a typical backpack. It was a couple $100. Shout out to LO Bean. That's where I picked up my backpack. Keep it local. So 60 liters, you could basically put like a infant standing up in it. I mean, I was probably carrying, I don't know, way too much going into the woods because I was scared to get injured or run out of food or get lost. So I overpacked for sure. I probably had like 50 or 60 pounds on me.
It's a damn good time to be cautious.
No, it definitely is, especially without cell phone service and just relying on myself for 10 days.
yeah, I know I've heard stories about people in the military who have to carry these giant backpacks, and they actually have to like, calculate for that weight they're carrying on their back because that actually has like a lot big impact on fatigue and kind of everything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So going to LL Bean in Freeport, when I bought the backpack, they fitted me with the right size backpack. So they have a bunch of settings on the backpack, and they basically tell you what your load should be. I don't remember what my load was. I think it was like 50 or 60 pounds at max, and I maxed that right out. I mean, I was carrying a very packed backpack. I was like...
You shared a picture with me of like all of the stuff you had laid out. Actually, it was a video because you had to pan so much. There was so much stuff.
Yeah. So basically, like prep backpack is obviously the one of the big essentials. Another big essential is a map. So there's this awesome app called Gut Hook. Shout out to Gut Hook because that's really an awesome app to have. So without cell phone service out there, you can still access the map, and it'll show you where you are on the map and next water sites, next tenting sites. So that was really useful as long as I had battery in my phone.
That's fair.
Some people go through charging their phones twice a day. I mean, try doing that for 10 days, not having a phone charger on
so
you.
you check it when you have to.
When you have to, which was one of my major mistakes because I ended up buying a solar panel to bring with me with USB hookups. So I was like, oh, I'm set. Like, just gonna
I can
sunshine,
use it as much as I want.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, it was a power bank, and it ran out real quick because there's a light on it, a LED light too. So I was using that at night instead of like starting fire or like using my phone. I did have a flashlight too. I mean, I really prepped for worst scenario.
Yeah. From what I've heard, those solar panel ones don't work too well, but it's like good in the bind, but it's not like got to charge
It's a
your
power
phone.
bank, basically. Like I couldn't even, at the end of it, I was putting it in direct sunlight and I couldn't even get my phone to turn back on. So anyways, I got Gut Hook, which is a mapping service, which is, like I said, really awesome. You can use that without cell phone service. And I also got a hard copy, waterproof copy of the map. And I did this several weeks in advance because I wanted to know exactly a plan to tell people where I'm going to be on these days, like loved ones, my girlfriend, my father, my brother.
Yeah. What were they thinking when you
Why
told
the hell
them?
are you doing this?
Is that what everybody said?
Why are you doing this? It's too dangerous. Find someone to do it with you. I couldn't find anybody to go with me. I mean, who's got 10 days I can just dedicate to spending $2,000 and going out and camping out?
Was there any arguments they said that made you kind of double think it, or were you just committed, like straight ahead?
Well,
He's a Taurus.
not really double thinking it, but I just got everyone's opinion on what I should bring and make sure that everyone's compiled list is something I had one or two of.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I had a couple of different knives on me, which probably was a mistake. I brought a couple of different lights, which was nice. Like I had a lantern, a flashlight, headlight, solar panel light, and my phone. So
there was a ton of prep that went into this, and you took time off work, and then it was the day of the journey. Where did you start, and what was day one like?
So, well, getting back to prep here.
Okay.
So I wanted to plan out my nights on the map and where I would be. So I told people
so you could pace yourself and
exactly,
people would know where you are.
Exactly. And check out the terrain too. So you don't want to go into this blind, not knowing that you're hiking a few different 3,000 foot mountains the first or second day. You know, you want to be prepared for like water crossings, which I bought Crocs for, which is really nice because they dried really quickly. Footwear is a big thing too. Because
did you have to end up eating your Crocs?
No.
Okay, that's good.
Planned out the trip several weeks in advance. Food, there's so much on the internet these days about how much calories you should have if you're walking or hiking this many miles. There's so many calculators out there of how much elevation, how much do you weigh, what's your age, how much your daily calorie intake. So, it's just getting you to be more cautious, which I was. So I had a bunch of these freeze-dried meals that I brought with me. And
like MREs?
Yeah, they're kind of like MREs, but I looked into getting MREs, and these trail packs that I bought were way nicer because you just boil some water out in the wilderness and just throw it in this like basically large heavy duty Ziploc bag with your dried food in it. And I was having lasagna.
Like rehydrates it.
Yeah, exactly.
So an MRE is like the military ration. It's a meal ready to eat for anybody who doesn't know.
With high calories.
Yeah. So the idea is when military people are out hiking doing this exact thing, but like on a military level, they can stay in their zone.
Right. So I got a bunch of those, and I made some like granola and dried fruit pack. I just bought a bunch of like dried fruit off Amazon and a bunch of granola and mixed that all up into one giant like basically trash bag before I left, and then portioned it out into several days.
Trail mix.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to like not always be in my backpack getting something. So I rationed that out into Ziplocs so I could stick them in my cargo pants when I was hiking, so I could just eat and hike on the way, so I could really focus on getting through the trail. Because 100 miles, if you're screwing around the first couple of days and you're only like mile 15, you're gonna be like, oh, I got like 85 miles left.
So you planned out, these are the places that I want to be at by these days. Okay. What was there anything else as far as prep goes?
Going back to footwear, I tore my ACL skiing Sunday River. And
how long ago?
It's 2.5 years, 3 years ago now.
Okay.
So it was pretty fresh. And this is like my big mental feat to.
So that was another part of this hike for you was not only to prove that you can do this thing by yourself, but also that your ACL is not going to hold you back.
That I recovered from my ACL fully and that I can do this 100 miles.
So this was like a really big deal on a spiritual level.
Oh, absolutely. So even the mountains that I hiked with the Osprey pack before going out there by myself, I was icing my knee every night. I actually brought some icy hot out on the trail with me to rub it on my knee when it was like swollen. A bunch of ibuprofen too, because I want to keep that swelling down so I can actually get through the trail and not cop out at mile 25.
So as far as all that preparation goes, how confident were you in that preparation? Were you feeling pretty good, or were you
I mean, you're out there for 10 days by yourself. How good can you feel about putting something in a backpack?
I remember talking to you, and I thought, like, this kid's over preparing. Like, he's got everything in the world. And then I know you were still stressed out about it, and you were like, I mean, I do, but there's always something that I could be forgetting. Because for me, it wasn't the reality that it was for you, where you're like, this is a thing.
This is my
doing.
life.
Yeah,
I could lose my life out here by myself, and they won't recover me for several days,
What are you drinking?
Shout out to Orono Brewing Company. And this is a India Pale Ale they're making. It's called Tubular. It's really good beer. It's really awesome. Orono, Maine. You guys should check that out and buy some of that beer if they're selling it online. I don't know.
Is beer something you brought with you on the trip?
No. I did not bring beer. It was too heavy.
Fair enough.
I know some people hiking through, though, that had alcohol in them. They went to a hostel that night, and that's kind of a treat for people coming up from Georgia to be at a hostel and be next to like a Hannaford, because they'll just buy all the beer they can and drink because they're 2,000 miles in, finishing it up, on a 150-day adventure, or if they're section hiking. It's a little different.
So the first day that you got there, what was going through your mind? Like, were you like prepared? Did you feel like, oh shit, what did I get myself into? Or was it like, okay, I got this?
What was your mindset stepping onto the trail? And where did you step onto the trail?
Okay, so it's a part near Bangor. The exact town I'm not 100% on. It's been a little bit since I've been to that.
Like Ellsworth or that area?
No. Greenville.
Okay, yeah.
So it's in that area. So getting onto the trail. So that night I drove from Portland, Maine up to Bangor to stay with my buddy Ethan.
Which is an hour and a half? No,
yeah, probably
two.
a little bit. I mean, Maine's a big state compared to some other states. So,
actually, it's probably closer to 3 up to Bangor. I know it was 3 from Lebanon, which is right near Portland, maybe 30 minutes, so probably 2 hours. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, so I went up there the night before and went out to dinner with one of my good buddies from Caribou, way up there, top of the county. Shout out to the Aroostook County kids.
Potatoes for life.
Yeah, for sure. Potato capital. So went up there and spent the night with my buddy. Went to the casino, had a few beers, hung out, had some chicken tenders or whatnot that night. And he brought me to the trailhead the next day because I didn't want to leave my car at the trailhead, and there was limited parking. And it's pretty wild, actually. So went out and partied the night before.
How
at
were
the
they?
Casino. What?
The chicken tenders.
Oh, amazing.
Okay. I needed to know. That was important.
It was Gagan's in Bangor. Shout out to Gagan's.
All the shout outs to these main companies. Love it.
It's the best wings in town.
All right. So you stepped on in Greenville or whatever the next morning.
The next morning. So I got Ethan up early, and we took off and got coffee, and we're driving out there, and I'm double checking my pack, making sure I got all the food, making sure I got the extra clothing, make sure I got, water filtration system, my little stove, everything, Band-Aids, just double checking anything that I could get before I got on this trail for the 10-day hike. And I went through everything too many times before I went out there by myself. And so I finally got to the trailhead. I'm lacing out my boots. I got these wool socks on for sweat wickening.
Gave Ethan a kiss.
Ethan actually came on the trail with me.
Did he?
Yeah. So we got there, and this guy was sitting in his truck, and he was drinking a coffee and smoking a bowl. And I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" He's like, "Good. My name's Ponytail Pete." I was like, "Hey, Pete."
Ponytail Pete.
Okay, so this is an NPC.
Is that what you really said, though?
Oh yeah, he gave me his number. Wow. He put Ponytail Pete
6.
on like a little business card and gave it to me.
That's
so
awesome.
every
That's
morning
funny.
he goes to the trailhead and smokes a little tree and has his coffee with his dog in the passenger seat of his truck. And anyone going into the 100-mile wilderness usually gives them like a card, or if they're friendly or whatnot. And he said, if you have any trouble, like I'm this mileage on the trail, so you can walk down this dirt road
That's
to my
really
house.
cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty tightly knit community because it's very dangerous out there. I mean, you can imagine with water crossings, you could hurt yourself, twist an ankle, break something. Some of these mountains I climbed were dead drop-offs for 200 yards. I mean, you could...
How far did Ethan go with you?
Ethan only did like the first mile with me or so. He just wanted to get out there, and we were following some hikers hiking through, some through hikers is what they're called, and they were laughing. They're like, "Holy, your buddy's with you on the trail, he's got to bring a lot more than orange juice because he was hungover. He's that orange juice. And I had this giant backpack, and we were just like walking through the woods, you know. So stepping on was like a big accomplishment for myself, because not only was it like all my preparation and all my worry came down to today, but I was executing it perfectly when I first stepped on the trail. I knew I was very confident being out there by myself. I could survive with the amount of food, whether it rained on me, I mean, I had everything that
so you
I
felt
thought.
confident, and everything was, you were off on the right foot. Oh,
Right.
literally.
It was just the variables that
Yeah.
made me worry. Like, I've never done this far of a hike before. I don't know who's out on the trail. What kind of animals could potentially injure me. And I don't know, like, if you look online on like YouTube, some of the water crossings can get pretty wild in spring. I mean, we're talking like chest deep on some of these rivers you're going through, and you got a 60-pound pack on your back, and you can get swept away real easy.
Oh, geez, that's insane.
Yeah, so they have like to cross the rivers, they have a rope tied from one tree of the river to the other, and you just grab the rope and like shimmy yourself across the river, and then pray to God that you don't fall, because a wet hiker is not a happy hiker by any means.
And just for context, this trail, is this like a man-made trail, or is it just like people happen to hike that kind of way, so it's kind of like padded down a bit? Or
So the Appalachian Trail, I would say, yeah, obviously it's man-made. If it's not like a deer trail we're following through.
Yeah, but like how cut is it?
Oh, okay. So like
It's not like paved. It's not.
no, they have on parts of the trail where it's pretty muddy, and it's consistently muddy every year there. They cut down trees in the middle of the trail, so people go out, and that's why it's important to donate to Appalachian Trail Club, because these people go out with chainsaws in these bad parts of these trails and cut down trees and make these little bridges with a tree sliced in half, so you can walk on the flat side.
That's cool.
Over these like marshy areas. And yeah, so it's really important for the ATC to be out there keeping people safe first and foremost, but being out there and keeping the trails up too.
And so you're able to keep going on a path. It's kind of obvious where you're going. It's not like you're going to get lost just kind of walking out somewhere in the woods just like randomly.
That's an awesome thing that you just brought up, because the very first day I was out there, as soon as Ethan left, I got lost within the first 2 hours.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. So how'd you get lost, and how'd you get back?
So I got lost because I wanted to keep my phone off, and gut hook I should have just had on the whole time, and brought like a couple power banks because of the GPS satellite showing me exactly where I am on the trail. So I got lost because I didn't know when I first went on the Appalachian Trail. Usually they have like a white stripe on the tree to tell you, like, or an AT like symbol on the tree to say like this is part of the Appalachian Trail. It's pretty obvious where people are walking through the woods. Yeah. I mean, there's no like roads. You're not hearing cars drive by or planes fly overhead. I mean, you're really out there. You can only hear mosquitoes flying around your head. So it's like, it's pretty wild, and you just got to follow the AT, the white trail going through. But one thing I didn't realize when I first went out there, because I don't have a whole lot of hiking experience before this AT, I was just doing strictly 4,000 footers in New Hampshire. So it's pretty obvious, like you can either go up the front side or the back side of the mountain and then come back down the same trail. Whereas this was like a continuous, you're pushing forward, blazing new trail. This is like a full adventure every day. And so when there's two stripes on the tree, that means there's a turn in the trail. And I didn't know that, so I walked right by it. Like, oh, this is part of the trail. Walked by it. And good thing I brought blaze orange duct tape. And I had it on the outside of my pack. So when I had my pack, I just had I rolled it up like toilet paper. And instead of bringing the whole duct tape, I rolled it up like toilet paper so I could just rip it off and mark the tree and not have to go into my backpack, because taking that off 60 pounds, that's really heavy. And then to find it with clothes, food, tent, sleeping bag, shoes.
So did you put those like on trees or?
Yeah.
So you were marking your own trail?
My own trail. Yeah. Basically the very first day, like 5 hours into this 100-mile wilderness.
When did you realize you were off trail and that you needed to?
The guys behind me, I turned around and they were hiking fast in the distance, probably like 40 meters. And it looked like they were on a trail. So I didn't want to cut through the woods to try to find out where they are, just in case there was like a Y or a fork in the trail. I want to make sure I was on the right trail. So I marked my own trail out, and I was like, this is wrong. I'm going to go back to where I saw that sign. And then I noticed there's like a footpath going to the left. I was like, oh.
Okay, so you lost a little bit of time, but you learned something pretty valuable pretty quick.
Absolutely. Day one,
Yeah.
hour 4 in there. It wasn't even like high noon at the time. It was, it was a shock on my first day out there. That's for sure.
Yeah. So you're like, I planned all of this and I didn't plan for
Really
this
scared
exact
me.
thing. Yeah.
It really scared me,
Like, wow,
especially
I could
on day
really
one.
get lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was good heads up play to be like, it looks like they're somewhere different. Let me start marking my path.
Yeah. See, that's
Like, what if they hadn't been there? Would you have even known you were off the path?
no, because the ferns come up to your knees, so you can't see like a foot trail
Yeah.
in between a forest of ferns, you know?
Were you thinking this was a good idea at the end of that first day, or were you thinking, oh God, like
I was scared. I was scared at the end of the first day.
Was there
because,
anything more eventful that happened during that day? How far did you get?
The first day, I think I got like 15 or 16 miles in. So I was like,
And that's with a multiple hour detour of going the wrong way for a little
it
bit.
wasn't multiple hours, probably like an hour and a half, because I mean, I just started doing like the basic, like walking in a big circle and then walking in a big circle and then like figuring out where I was and then just actually going back through my marked trail to find out where the trail was.
Basic for you. Not basic for somebody who doesn't know what they're doing.
Right, who's never been in the woods before,
Yeah.
like coming from Pennsylvania or New York and
Yeah,
not knowing any
exactly.
kind of like bearings or.
So
how
you
to-
already had a leg up in that regard that you knew some
yeah,
tricks.
I knew some tricks of the trade because I've been out hunting before and I got lost hunting in the Allagash woods, which is a whole nother story. That's probably the most wild part of the United States. I don't care what anyone says. There's no cell phone service. Look it up. Your carrier doesn't cover the top left part of Maine. I guarantee
all
it.
the territories that aren't technically even towns, all that area.
Oh yeah, you're going up there
It's
and
like
you're
territory 261.
just there's not
Yeah,
even
yeah.
like anything, fire
So-
station, anything.
So you made it, you said like 15, 16 miles day one?
Yeah, so I was planning on like I was another big part of my preparation was hitting the gym every day and working on the right muscles so I'm not sore. So I was doing a lot of like stair stepping,
Conditioning.
running, weighted like lunges and stuff just to really get my legs rock solid for this.
Keep you loose and
And
all
some
that.
chest things too, because I mean that pack is really weighing you down,
Yeah.
pulling you back towards the earth when you're walking.
So were you sore after day one?
No, I was not sore after day one. I had been training at the gym for several months before. I mean, I'm talking training hard at the gym for 4 months, probably the last month and a half, going like crazy, like two a day workouts, and then the week going up to it, like 3 or 4 days going up to the actual getting into the trail. I just took off to recover.
How many hours did you hike day one? When did you step onto the trail and when did you stop hiking that day?
So I got a little bit of, I wouldn't say a late start, but we had to drive in the morning and then I had to lace up my boots, my hiking boots. So I'd say I started
Talk
at
to
like,
Ponytail Pete.
yeah, and Ponytail Pete, my friend. So I probably stepped on the trail probably like 8:30, and I didn't stop hiking until about 4:30 is when I started thinking, where am I setting up tent? Where am I gonna set up tent and relax?
So that's like an 8-hour day.
Yeah, so basically like the whole time I was out there, I was getting up before the sunrise. So once you started seeing like the sun coming up and you started getting a little bit light and you can make out people's like, you can make out like the outline of trees and, you know, the outhouse or wherever you are or people, then I started getting up because every morning you got to like pack up your sleeping bag. You got to put your boots on.
Where'd you stop day one?
Day one, I stopped, they called, they're like solo camping sites off the trail. So one of the big rules for the ATC is, or even hiking on the Appalachian Trail, is you can't camp right off the trail. They will fine you several $100s.
Who's they exactly? Is that the?
I think it's game wardens that come through and make sure that, because it's public land and they don't want to ruin it. I mean, with this being such a tourist attraction on the East Coast, people coming for the beauty and the Appalachian Trail, they don't want this to turn into like a parking lot kind of camping section.
So they have set places you have to get to camp?
Yeah, they have sent lean-to. So that's one of the big things with prep. I looked at how far these lean-tos were from each other, and Guthook really helped me with that, because I'd get on my Guthook app once or twice a day just to see next water stop, if I needed to fill up on water, it was 1.2 miles ahead. Next tent site was 3 miles ahead. And depending on how I was feeling that day and depending on the weather, I mean, like I said, there's a bunch of variables out there, but I would base like my rest of my afternoon. So you forecast the next 3 hours where you're going to fill up for water for the night, where you're going to put your tent down, and how are you going to prep for the next morning.
How easy was sleeping that first night? Was it just like right out, or were you worried about like bears, animals, or such and such?
So first night wasn't too bad because I had done some overnights. I got like a bivy tent, which is like just a 1-person tent, just enough for you and
Keep out the bugs.
Yeah, it's a 1-person tent. It looks like a coffin. Like basically the tent is just a coffin. You can't sit up in it the whole length of it because one side's slanted for your feet and the other side is like for your head, obviously, so you can sit up one side.
Yeah.
So if you went in the other way, you know what I mean, your head would hit the top of the tent. It's basically like a diamond with like I don't know how to really explain it.
Yeah.
So it was just enough for me in my backpack, really, not even my backpack because I was using it as a pillow. That's how tight it was.
Yeah.
But sleeping first night wasn't too terrible because I picked a really good weekend to go in, and I knew the weather was going to be nice. It wasn't going to be like crazy rainstorms where it's soaking wet hiking. No one wants to do that. And it wasn't too cold at all. It was in the 60s, 70s, I believe.
Did you wake up feeling good and ready to go, or were you still a little tired from the night before from sleeping on the ground?
I need a little bit of practice. So that's where the 4,000 footers came in, and did a couple overnights over there with setting up the tent, getting dinner ready, putting your sleeping bag together, and what you needed to do to prep for that night. And a big thing that I learned out there too is a successful day of hiking, you need to prep the night before for the next morning. So for breakfast, coffee, water to get on the trail. Like you don't want to think about these things in the morning.
So what was your nightly routine?
So my nightly routine is as soon as I got too tired to hike and I found a good place to put down, I would immediately find a place to either set my tent up or a part of the lean-to. So some of the Appalachian Trail has these lean-tos where it could fit probably 8 people underneath it. Just a real basic wooden structure made from trees. I mean, not like boards cut up. It's just straight up trees with like screwed together.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and I mean it wasn't leak-proof roofing by any means, and usually just one fire pit. Some nights I stayed in the lean-to, some nights I put up my tent, but the advantage of staying in the lean-to is you don't have to put up your tent. So when you wake up at 5-6 o'clock in the morning, you're not thinking about breaking down your tent, making sure that you have all the stakes from your tent to set it up for the next night, making sure that you're not dropping something and leaving something behind. Like, because if you leave one part of your tent behind, especially like one of those sticks to help erect your tent.
Yeah. So like there's a lot of intricacies to like preparation and kind of setting up and also just going through the trail. And from an outside perspective, for someone who's never done this sort of hike, it seems very, very complex. Like this, seems like there's so many different things. But is this something that's like people who are used to hiking? Is this like second nature? Like don't even have to think about it. Yeah.
So some people out there, like, it's pretty funny. Like, so everyone's got their trail names, and this young girl, she was like 23, 24, hiking from Georgia up to Maine by herself.
Wow. Oh, jeez.
So she made me look
That's
like
super hardcore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. And this is how hardcore she was. She would break her toothbrush in half to take off the excess plastic, so it'd be less weight in her pack.
Wow.
Okay.
That's thinking ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was hardcore. So she like showed up. She hiked for like 12 hours that day, showed up, smoked a bowl, ate dinner, and went to sleep. I was like, wow.
So the next morning you woke up, crack of dawn, packed up your stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm still like that adrenaline rush high. Like my first day I got to where I wanted to go. It was a long hike. And I got set up, spent my first overnight. I was feeling good. Nothing bad happened first day, except for when I went to get water for the first day, I slipped off the rock and fell into the river.
Oh my
So
goodness.
my brand new boots that I bought, which will come into play later on day like 6, 7, 8. I bought some Merrell leather boots thinking that it was a great idea to do 100 miles in them. And a lot of people that hike trails know that you want some trail running shoes, some mesh shoes, so you don't have so much friction in your shoes. So I had these waterproof leather boots that went into the river the first day, soaked from the inside out.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's brutal. So were they dry the next morning at all? Probably not.
I did my best to dry those out. I mean, there's a couple techniques to dry them out, throwing some hot rocks off the fire inside your boot to get that condensation to, steam up. And
There's a rock in my boot.
yeah, exactly.
Blow dryer, that might work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Your portable blower dryer.
Yeah. I
Obviously
did have
brought.
that in my pack. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't have that, obviously. So, so my nightly routine is basically setting up tent, putting down my sleeping bag as fast as possible, getting into a comfortable position, like making sure that I'm going to be okay for the night, make sure I got enough water, starting to boil water for food that night, getting a early meal in before the sun went down, and prepping for the next morning. So usually I would have filtered water, and some oatmeal and some coffee already put in like a little coffee mug. I had a little stainless coffee mug with a carabiner I just clipped on, and a little bowl for oatmeal, so I could just wake up, light the stove, and then get to cooking as soon as I woke up. So I had a hot meal right before I left, because by the time I got my tent, my sleeping bag all packed up, put it in my backpack, the food was ready, and then I could eat and leave.
So it definitely sounds like there's a lot more to the story, and getting a little bit long here, so we can break this into part 2. Before we end this episode, is there anything you want to plug, Dick? You already plugged the beer company.
Yeah, I'll plug Osprey packs, because that was a really good pack for me to bring on the Appalachian Trail.
That's awesome.
Excellent. So we'll cover this next part in part 2 of the Appalachian Trail episode.
The Nick James story.
The Nick James story. 100-mile, let's get lost on first day trail.
That's it. That's what the episode's going to be called.
It's a very long title, but I like it.
Nick James getting lost, 100 miles.
Next time, we get to talk.